Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Progress Report on this Wednesday, June 16th. We're halfway through June. Hard to believe. You will notice that I am not Bob Backus. I've moved over from the side chair to come over here and sit in the big chair. I hope I can fill this chair as well as Bob can. Bob is on assignment. When last I heard, he was in Washington, D.C., doing an investigation on technology. And he will be back in a couple weeks, but for tonight and for next week, we'll try to soldier on and do the best we can to provide informative and entertaining content for you. I wanted to take a chance, just a minute before we start the show, to talk a little bit about the Progress Report and kind of highlight a few of the differences between this show and some of the other shows. You will note we have an opinion here, that's for sure. But we don't just come on, usually. Sometimes we've had to do that because of a guest not showing or something. But we don't just come on and just chatterbox and talk about our opinion. What we like to do is we like to bring people in who are going to provide information. So it's not about what we have to say, it's about what our guests have to say. And for over 11 years now, every Wednesday, we've had some very, very qualified, talented, and entertaining guests come on and do the show. Some have done repeats. And that's what's important about the Progress Report. We get an hour to interview people who know what they're talking about. And we hope that we're able to provide informative content for you in that regard, but also information about Manchester in particular that is uplifting, because it's very easy to throw darts at a dartboard, and to sit back like the union leader does and list every possible problem that's going on in the city without any suggestion of how to help. That's just not what we're about. We try to do something good. So enough about that. I did mention we have repeat guests on the show, and I am very fortunate to have a many-time repeat guest on the show because he brings so much information. You know him, you love him. Pat Long. Pat, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Really appreciate your coming on.
Glad to be here.
Let's kick things off. I was saying before we came on, Pat, last week we had Rennie Cushing on the show, and we talked a little bit about the state budget, and a lot of non-budgetary things that are in it, and
Sure.
What's going to happen. We have one-party government up there in Concord, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Right.
So I thought this week we might swing down into some more local things. Although you are a state rep, we can talk a little bit about the state, but I thought we'd focus a little bit more locally. But there's one thing I want to kind of throw you a little bit of a curveball here to start
Sure.
the show, and I think you're ready for it. I'm a firm believer that the guests that we have on the show are very important to making Manchester what it is. I believe that a city doesn't happen automatically. Little Leagues don't happen automatically. Cub Scouts don't happen automatically. Food kitchens don't happen automatically. Museums, libraries. People have to make them happen. People have to want them. People have to work to make them happen. And it's the people that make that difference. So we always try to get folks to talk a little bit about themselves when they come on the show. But you've been on the show so many times.
Yeah.
People know who you are.
Sure.
So in the same line, tell us a little bit about the latest thing that you've started working on. What new group have you joined? What new volunteer effort have you signed up for? Because I know
Sure.
you're signing up probably two
Well,
or three times a week. So
I continue to work at the Valley Cemetery every other Saturday. This Saturday is the Saturday we're on. There's been a group gathering with Tanya is the organizer of this. Just somebody who takes it to heart, works hard at it. It's all volunteer. Every morning right now I have to water we planted flowers in the big cement pots they have there. I've never had flowers in them for the 8 years I've been going there. We planted flowers in there, so in the morning I go down there and I have this water thing that I bring and water the plants in the morning. I mean, it gets me out of the house, and I'm watering those every morning, and we got some nice flowers there. So, there's a lot of our forefathers that are in there, and I just think it's that important to keep it looking respectful.
Well, I think that's a perfect example, and that's exactly what I was fishing for when I threw that question. I did not know what the answer might be, and I didn't preview
Right.
the question with you. So, but that's the kind of thing. Someone getting up every morning and going and watering some plants. You got the time to do it. You got the equipment you need,
Yeah.
and it's getting done. And you know what? people walking by those plants have no idea that that's happening.
Exactly.
There's not going to be a headline in the Union Leader, plants in Manchester getting watered anonymously. The headline's going to be, people aren't taking care of the plants when that happens. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, like a good example, my wife every morning gets up and she walks Kidder and Hollis Street. It's a block, Elm Street to Canal. And she picks up all the garbage. She says, hey, we need to paint our signposts. There's like 10 of them. So I says, what are you talking about? She goes, look at them. They're all rusty, green and rusty. I says, well, what do you want to paint them? I want to paint them black. I got some paint at work and I want to paint them black. So I called the highway and they said, yeah, go for it. So we were out there for a couple Saturdays painting the signs nice, glossy black. So you don't notice it, when a regular person walking by, but you do notice how clean everything looks. The sidewalks are clean. We pick up the weeds. We painted the signposts where they're all nice and bright. And, so little things like that just make our quality of life in our area, special.
And that's going on in every neighborhood across the city to
Exactly.
a varying degrees.
Exactly.
Some people can do it, some people can't. It's not meant to criticize
No, not
those
at
who
all.
can't. That's
Not
not
at
at
all.
all.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just point out that there are so many invisible Santa's helpers in this city
No, absolutely.
that keep things going, that allow us to have libraries and museums and historic structures and have them available to the public, and to have parks that are relatively clean. And if we relied upon the city to do all of this, you want to talk about tax hikes. We would have to
it's
hire so
expensive.
many people.
It's expensive.
To go, and I think people don't realize when we start talking, and we're going to get to the budget, which is kind of what I'm leading into here. When we start talking about taxes, what a bargain we're actually getting for what we end up having to pay. Yeah, you know what? It's hard to stroke that check. But what do you get for it? And not only are you getting what the city provides, but what the city provides gives a nurturing place for other individuals to spring off of that. And that is, it's almost like an echo chamber. And a city can go up or down that way.
Right.
When the people stop caring, when the people stop doing the volunteering, a city can plummet. And it's hard to recover after that, to get that engine going again. Manchester has had this engine throughout its history. You read the history of Manchester in the 1850s, 1860s, when it was just starting up. They wanted to have parks. They wanted to have schools. They wanted to have libraries, fire department, safety.
And they pitched in their own pennies to get
Exactly.
to get those things.
Exactly.
Manchester has a huge history of volunteerism.
Yeah.
And it still thrives today.
Absolutely. I'm glad you agree with me on that, because you don't have to look far.
Right.
But you got to look to see it, and I'm glad we've had a chance. And now let's swing in and let's talk about, there is a lot going on in the city. My goodness, just in today's newspaper, we see a new airline coming into the airport.
Right. Yep.
We see millions of dollars coming in to help with affordable housing, and I'm hoping that you and I can talk about that
Sure.
during the course of the show a little bit, because
can.
that's a tricky subject.
It is. It
Why?
is.
First question: why is the city involved? Isn't housing kind of a private thing?
Yeah, well, it is.
So, and then we got the budget that people are, talking about. So, where do you want to start? I mean,
So,
what do you think?
Yeah, we could start on the budget. There was two option brought to the alderman. Option two was, well, we asked all the departments, what is it? Give us an explanation of the mayor's budget. The majority of them said we're good with the mayor's budget. A few of them needed a couple of extra things. One of them was police. They needed supervision via promotions. That's how you get supervisors, turn them into captains and lieutenants. And that was like $567,000. Well, we have both a revenue and a expenditure cap. So the revenue cap, we could only stay at 1.87. So what we needed to do is we needed to override the revenue portion by $567,000 to get those supervision into the Manchester Police
Now,
Department.
I want to stop you because I'm missing something. A lot of times when we have to override the revenue is because there's funds available and we just can't accept them. Was
Correct.
that a situation where there was like
well,
because
we're maxed out at the 1.87.
Yeah.
So that was $2,025,000 that the mayor had already put in the budget. So we needed to override to get any funding that we needed. And by the way, when you override that revenue, you reduce the tax rate by that revenue. So you reduce the tax rate two ways. One is sending that revenue to DRA, Department of Revenue Administration, State of New Hampshire Department, and they calculate what your tax rate is. They do that for every municipality.
and that's to equalize the tax rate statewide
correct.
so that everybody
Yeah.
pays a quote unquote fair share.
Correct. So
In
if
theory.
if you leave money on the table with respect to revenue, the DRA uses that to reduce your taxes. However, last year we had a 0.47% increase. We had a $55 million projected property value increase. So, which we didn't use. However, when I went to the DRA for the first time in 15 years, they capped what we could use to 39 million. So that added another.
Manchester gets it
that
every
added
time,
a
doesn't
1%.
we? Yep.
So option two lowered the rate. Right now, the budget that passed is at 1.87% increase. Option two lowered it to 1.46, and it's money. It was money we were going to use for police and contingency. Actually, we were going to put in contingency because Chief Aldenberg said that I have good supervision now. However, we got 4 more police coming plus the 10 you just added in our budget. As I
that's
get
gonna
them in the
require
street,
some
it's
supervision.
going to require some supervision. So.
Let me. I want to. Yes, I think it's logical to assume that as you increase your police complement, which is something that I believe the people of Manchester want,
Sure.
you also have to increase the amount of supervision. But a byproduct of that is someone gets a promotion, someone's making more money, and people can be critical of that.
Yeah.
So how do you address that? I mean, is this is something that if the city wants to advance, wants to grow, its police force has to keep pace. And if you want to bring in the guys that are out there on the street, they need to have that supervisor they can come.
Well, it's not a secret that our police department is doing an outstanding job. They are, what they're facing, they didn't sign up to face, but they're doing it, and they're doing it positively. I woke up one Sunday morning. I heard a bunch of people shouting. I thought they were in front of the senator's office on Elm Street. So I told my wife, "Hey, let's go check it out." So we went over there. They happened to be walking in the street. It was a protest. Obviously, they didn't call the police to let them know because there was no police there. So I followed them. When they crossed Bridge Street, police got there. Police didn't even disrupt them. They allowed them to go down the middle of Elm Street. They stopped at Granite and Lake Ave and Elm, and they took a knee and started praying. While I was in my car, the police came over to me and said, "Hey, I want to apologize. This will only." I says, "Yeah, don't worry about it." They didn't bother them. They let them kneel. They let them pray. Then they dispersed, or they went to Veterans Park. So it could have easily escalated into an issue. There were about 5 or 6 police there, and they did an outstanding job of allowing them to protest. They were respectful. I was just, this is how it is. So our police force gets a ton of training on de-escalation, and so they're well trained.
And
I
you're
was
testifying
highly
that
impressed.
they implement
did
that
a
training
great
because
job.
it's one thing
That's
to
right.
train and it's another to see it implemented. And
that's right.
this is a great story to let folks know that here in Manchester, the effort to have true community policing at least is seeing some success.
Exactly.
Now we're very fortunate. It's and by the way, it's not just luck that we're fortunate to have a very fine police department. There's a history, there's hard work that's been done, and the city is where it is. But the issues that we saw in policing across the country
Yeah.
do exist in Manchester.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the issues of mental health, dealing with people with mental health issues.
Absolutely.
Of course, we have the drug issues and we have the homelessness issues, and all of those are in a Gordian knot.
Right.
But are we doing proactively, before there's trouble, what needs to be done to make our police force a public safety force? In other words, to hire the social workers or to have them available in conjunction. We have a great mental health department. I mean, we're very fortunate in Manchester.
Yeah.
But is the city coordinating and doing what needs to be done? I'm not going to use that stupid phrase, defund the police,
Right.
because that's not what I'm talking about.
No,
What I'm
right,
talking
right.
about
No,
is
I see.
refocus the police
Well-
and reallocate the funds
Sure.
in a way that everybody can benefit from. Is
So-
Manchester
so-
doing that?
So Bob and yourself had Chief Alderberg on 1 week. I don't know if that was your first. It was probably him and.
It was, yeah, it was. I was not on
Senator
for that show, but
D'Alessandro.
I do know that we had him
so
on,
Chief
and he did a great
Oldenburg
job.
is high priority community policing. He gets public safety. He gets quality of life, and his initiatives are towards that end. So, with respect to taking money from police and putting it into
I didn't say taking money. What I said, allocate.
all the aldermen received a letter with probably about 50 signatures to take money from police and give it to the Office of Youth Services, the Welfare Department, and HR, Human Resources. Well, Human Resources is not what they're thinking. Human
Yeah,
Services.
understood, yeah.
Right. Welfare, they could come to the board at any time and say, "I need another 300,000," and by statute, you're required to give them that 300,000. No questions asked.
So
You gotta
heart's
find
in the
that
right
money.
place, but hadn't done the homework.
Exactly, yeah. And the Office of Youth Services, they don't have the we could give them more money so they could increase their services. However, there's not enough. They can't get the qualified people to implement more, to expand those services. So,
And is that true given the current budget? But if they were able
they
to,
were able to, yeah, absolutely.
they could come in
We're highly concentrated on youth
Mm-hmm.
within the city, whether it's summer opportunities,
and have been for years.
exactly.
Fun in the sun back when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all on that page. In the school district, they came before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. They have $95 million in this what's called ESSER funds. It's federal funding, and it's all towards it. A lot of it. Well, what qualifies for some of this money is mentorships for mental health, for the loss of academics they may have lost in last year's epidemic, and any mentor program, they could put that money towards that, and that's very important. So, that's going to happen.
I think we're going to see lingering effects
Right.
in the education system of what we went through. I think the department did a really great job in getting us over this, and hopefully we can get back in the swing of things. But I'm very happy to say we have a caller. We love our callers. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the Progress Report. We're glad to hear from you.
Thank you. Great, big fan of the show. Hey, I just turned you guys on, and I don't know if you talked about the homeless situation in Manchester. Well, can you please give me an update as far as, is there a centralized camp/area designated to people who may want to live in a safer environment? What's happening with all the homeless? They're still here. I haven't been down to Elm Street in a while. I'm going to go back down there next week, and I'm interested to see. I'll take a little walk around. I'm interested to see what you think I'm going to see. Let's say around 4 o'clock during the week in Manchester. I haven't been down there in the evening either. What's happening as far as patrons interacting with maybe some of the more disabled emotionally, if a nice way to put it? Has there been any interaction going on in the city as we head into the summer months? So,
Sure.
Interested to hear your thoughts on it, and thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Excellent. Great question.
Great question is right.
And Pat, I can't have you on the show and we don't start talking about this particular issue.
right. Yeah,
So, I mean, the ball
So-
is teed up there.
So for 6 weeks, we've hired a homeless director, Shauna Green. Shauna Green's been in Manchester for 6 weeks. outstanding, been in the business in Florida for 30 years, knows exactly what she's doing. She has great programs that have to come. They're going to give a presentation to the board. They're perfect. With respect to Elm Street, you'll see periodically, but however, that's been addressed. The encampments, that's still something that the board has to decide whether they want to go the one location. A lot of the people in encampments don't want the one location. The bottom line is they don't want rules. And I mean, I got to live by rules. Everybody lives by rules. I can't stick political signs in front of my house, right? I live in a condo association. It's not allowed. I got to live by that rule, right? So there are programs that Shauna is bringing forward to us, and having my conversations with her, she is just plugged in, and she is going to help. One of the things she immediately did was we provide community improvement program money, federal money, to nonprofits. Any nonprofit that addresses homeless, they are now required to address a certain population of homeless. For example, we gave $750,000 to Waypoint for youth, 18 to 25-year-old homelessness, which there are a lot of them in the encampments.
So that segment is now their thing.
They're in that contract. They have to address a certain percentage of the youth population, which we never did it before. We just gave them the money because we need that program. And the same with FIT. You're required to get 5 people out of the encampment in services. So eventually that'll build down as more and more nonprofits come to us for funding of CIP. And that was within a week that she decided, what are you guys doing? You're giving us money and you're not requiring them to take care of people in the encampment?
Yep.
So
expertise goes a long way.
She's
right?
a breath of fresh air, I tell you. She's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I am so confident that we're following her programs. You are going to see a major difference, a major difference.
Pat, we're up at the point where we sometimes take a break, and we're going to do it in this show. We'll take about a 30-second break. But when I come back, I want to stay on this topic because I have a few questions. There's some things that I've read, things that I've heard people asking. I'm thinking maybe we can address them. Folks, stay over for 30 seconds. Go grab a beverage or a sandwich or something. Come on back. We're going to talk again with Pat Long in just a few seconds about the homelessness issue, and then we'll move on to other things. We thank you for watching. Don't forget to call in 640-3091. See you in just a few seconds. And we're back. While you guys were getting a sandwich, we were plotting on what we're going to talk about next, and we're going to stick with the homelessness issue. There are a lot of issues negatively impacting Manchester. We talked at the beginning of the show. There's a lot of positive stuff going on, but the negative things get the attention, Pat. And so let's tease this out a little bit. We are making strides. You were talking about having this very talented, very informed breath of fresh air, new information coming into the city, a new way of looking at things, and already having a positive effect. I think that's great. A lot of times we have to wait a long time for the positive effect to be shown, but it looks like that we're going to have an acceleration of positivity here. But it's always going to be a problem. Homelessness was a problem in Manchester when I was a kid growing up, when you were a kid growing up.
Sure.
It was probably, Manchester was smaller. It wasn't as developed downtown. And I can remember when down the old rail yard, which was practically abandoned, that was a homeless encampment. They used to call it Hobo Jungle.
I remember that.
And, I was people who watch the show know I'm a rail fan. I love the railroad. And I can remember one time bringing my son down when he was a kid to go look at the old tracks and the old rail buildings.
Sure.
And, all of a sudden it came alive. And it was like, whoa, I really was surprised. I knew it was there, but I didn't understand what it was. That was kind of my...
But it was out of sight, so...
And that's the point, out of sight, out of mind.
That's the point.
Out of sight, out of mind. It was down the hill, down by the river. Now, we still have the problem. We have to accommodate it, okay? And so we have these little pockets of encampments, some on public property, some on railroad property, some on private property.
Sure.
The city's playing a little game of whack-a-mole. It's not a game, I shouldn't say that. But, they suppress one area.
Well, it's not a matter of suppressing. It's a matter of public safety for both the neighborhood and the people.
Poor choice of words. I agree with you completely.
It's absolutely
I agree with you completely. Let's talk about that. What when you have an encampment that backs up against your backyard, the most compassionate person in the world may have a problem with this. There are a lot of issues. There's
absolutely.
some noise. There's some violence. We read in the paper that the trash festers.
Right.
That's not a healthy situation. You talked a little bit about folks not wanting to abide by rules. I've actually visited a few camps over the course of my life recently, and I've spoken with people that they're where they are because they don't want to be with a certain group that does drugs. They don't, or so they claim. I take them at their word. I have no reason not to.
They know what they want to tell you. So I'm not saying they all lie, but
and I'm not saying that I believe everything
I'm not saying I believe
everything I hear. But right. I tend to try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, no, why not?
Let's assume there is a theoretical encampment of folks that really are, they're down on their luck. They've got prospects, and these people that I talk to, they're on a wait list. They have some income. They do regular groceries. They were raking up their camp. I mean, they had some dignity. I hate to talk about they and stuff like that. I'm not in any way trying to diminish.
They're human beings, and for whatever reason they find themselves in this situation. Any one of us could do that.
Let me tell you what. If not for family, we're all
exactly.
very close to this.
So it's. I mean. Congratulations, Manchester. There are substance use services. There are mental health services. That's
shelter.
Overcapacity, food and shelter, which all other municipalities with this issue, Rochester, Dover, Concord, Keene, they have the same issue, Nashua, and the services are there also. Mm-hmm. So there are the services. However, getting somebody to want the services is where we need the outreach people, and that's I believe we need to increase our outreach because eventually.
But that has increased to some extent, has it not?
Yeah, it has, but not enough. There's they're not confided in me. Unless I go down there every day for 3 months.
Yeah.
And they get to know me, then okay, I'm going to start letting them in on a little stuff. So these outreach personnel, they trust them and they have
Well,
confidence.
they get to know these folks.
And-
That's part of the job. That's part of the function.
Exactly. And then you could look at what this person needs that they don't even know that they need, and try to get them on that course. And it has. FIT has been successful with placing people in independent units. So it's not like it's not happening. That is happening. But the encampment are people that want that freedom. I don't blame them. I get that. But when it comes to public health and safety, we can't ignore that, because who's responsible? We'd be responsible if something happens, there's ODs in there all the time.
Well, gosh, we've had fires, we've had deaths, but there's
no, exactly.
There's
So,
conflict. There's
yeah,
a certain degree of
hypothermia.
violence.
That the outreach people will go in, and people are in hypothermia. Get them in the heat, otherwise they'll be dead when you go there the next morning. So yeah, I don't like that there's all these camps, and I don't like that we we move them when it becomes a public health
Because then it's a
and
problem.
safety.
It's kind of too late at that point, isn't
Well,
it?
exactly, because there's very few of them are taking the shelter or any services that
Well,
may be offered.
let's talk about that a little bit, because I heard in my conversations, COVID. I'm afraid of the COVID. Now, logically, out here in there, on balance, I'm not sure I get that, but.
Well, that's one of the
I
excuses.
mean, we have
'cause
to say that
if you're afraid of-
last year was a
if you're
tough
afraid
year.
of COVID, you're going to stay with 20, 25 people in an encampment?
Without,
Come on.
you're repeating what I just said. You know what I mean? It
Exactly.
didn't make sense to me, but.
That to me would be more scary than being in a shelter. In a shelter, they're distancing.
But
In the encampments, they're not
But
distancing.
Pat, when you can't account for fear, people react to fear different ways. I was full of fear during this COVID
Yeah, as was
thing,
I. Sure.
and sometimes I reacted okay, sometimes I didn't react okay, So,
Yeah,
I have to give folks the benefit of the doubt. If it's true that they are concerned about that, then maybe they're just not thinking right due to fear.
No, Mike, what happens when I go to the shelter? I have to follow rules.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You really
That is
yeah.
the problem. I got to go there. I got to be there for 6, and I don't leave until 6 the next day. And from 6 to 6, I'm not drinking. I'm not doing my drugs. I'm not, smoking cigarettes, or maybe they let them out to smoke. I don't know. But that's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I'm afraid of COVID. It's not. I can't sleep with my girlfriend. We got to. They separate us.
Which was an issue.
Yeah, they separate us. It's. I got rules I got to follow.
Well,
And that's the
you
issue.
and I can agree. Everybody's got rules they got to follow. Everybody's got a boss.
That's right.
So,
That's right. Yeah.
I have no problem with the freedom-loving person. But that doesn't mean in a public park, because now you're not. It's not your freedom. You're imposing. What is it? The right to thrust your fist ends at the tip of my nose.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean? You have a
Yeah.
right to be free,
So,
but.
and setting up these services, a lot of people say bring them here. Manchester's not the only spot. There are 8, 9, 10, 11 other municipalities that have the same issue. So
Do they have it to the
they're
same
not
extent
only-
as Manchester as a
Well,
function
they-
of population?
They do. However, some of them aren't like in Nashua, they're in a valley. So the public isn't, they only see the panhandling.
Yeah.
And maybe walking from place to place. But they don't see the campers like Manchester saw the campers, which stands it out
Side-
right on
at
right
the
on
courthouse,
Elm
for crying out loud,
Street. Exactly, right in the middle of the city.
And I don't want to
So-
sound uncompassionate. I have a good deal of compassion. I've seen and been through enough in my life that, there but for the grace of God go I. And
So, yeah.
but we're a community, we're a society, and as a community, as a society, we have to come up with a solution to this problem.
No, that's right.
And
That's
we
right.
can't rely upon the homeless, the unhoused, to come up with the solution on their own.
No, that's
They-
right.
they're
Well,
the
actually,
least
when I
able
spoke
to
with
do that.
Shauna, and she's interested. I want to. Some of the leaders want to speak with us. They want us to set up a commission of homeless people. I'm all for that, because they're the ones that what is it that you need us to do, and on the other hand, here's what we need you to do. So maybe that that will come
At
to
least there's
fruition.
communication
You
instead
know,
of
and
a
it's-
top-down thing, an
No,
imposition
exactly.
of rules
and
and
it's
that kind
not
of
a
thing.
giving them everything. We don't do that.
Well,
You know,
let's
there's-
bring that
there's
up
just
because
false
I have
statements
actually
out there
I have,
saying that.
I have heard in the political sphere that Mayor Craig just took federal money and bought tents and gave away free
Yeah,
tents.
that's just not. That's just
What
not the
kind
case.
of? Let's
The
say it.
the
Is that
city-
true?
No, the city didn't spend city dollars. The state spent their state dollars on the bathrooms and food and whatever else. We get federal dollars for healthcare.
I point out we have one party government in the state. It's all Republicans, Senate, House, and governor's office. So when
right.
the state is spending money for tents and bathrooms that people don't like, that's not Mayor Craig.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah, I don't think
Republican
they're
state
spending it on
government.
tents. You know,
Well, that's I'm trying
You know,
to
but-
encompass the issue that I've heard people
well, there are churches
saying
that,
like
that
it's
are giving
true.
out tents. There are churches that are giving out tents and sleeping bags. You know, and when they move to another encampment, they get another sleeping bag in a tent. And we pick up. You know, you say we're picking up their stuff and throwing it away. That's not the case. They're leaving it there.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they're going to get the church to give them another one. You know, so we need to pick it up. We can't just sit it out there
It's
and give you
festering garbage now.
Tell you
It's
what,
litter,
we'll
know.
give you 3 months to come and get it if you don't claim it. No.
But they do put the property aside for a certain amount of time.
No, they do.
I
They
mean,
give
they're
them
following
toters.
the rules.
They give them toters. They give them, whatever, storage stuff. So yeah, that's all there. And Safe Station, there's people believe that Safe Station is bringing people in. That those numbers are a single digit for the 8 years or however long it's been with Safe Station. That is just not the case. People coming in under substance abuse, going to Safe Station. By the way, it's not a 9 to 5 thing where they're going to look for help. It's usually either
4 in the morning.
midnight
Yep.
and 4 in the morning and 3
Yep.
in the morning. So you need.
I've spent some time with the
so that's
firefighters
not
down
the
at
issue.
Central Station, and,
Now-
and I got a good briefing on that, and it's effective. And you know what? If someone brings someone in from Londonderry that's in trouble, what's the problem?
No, exactly.
What's the problem?
No, I agree.
It's what did the chief say? It
Well,
was
I mean-
9 minutes to
Yeah,
to process the whole thing.
when you shut something down like that, you got to think that 50% of the people are Manchester people. So you're not taking care of Manchester
Biting
people.
off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's the case. So that's a misnomer that it's drawing people here. It's just not the case. And the state's coming out with a report on homeless, affordable housing and homeless. The council that the governor set up. They were supposed to be out in June. But it's not out yet. And hopefully there's sectors in the state that they set up these these areas where unhoused could live. That would be better for us because speaking with Chief Oldenburg and the mayor, Manchester being the only place to have a accepted area could potentially bring in more people.
Yeah.
I get that. So let the state decide to do regional so that we could do ours. And there's
Well,
this
the state did regional with that Pathways. How successful was that? I'm skeptical. Let's just put it
well,
that way. I'm
the
skeptical.
doorway.
The doorways. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
it's now with CMC, but it's a 9 to 5 thing. It's 9 to 5. So
You got to be there
you got to be there
at the
when-
moment that you're needed
24/7.
because
Yeah.
the decision goes away really, really
So
fast.
they're looking at the 24/7 model, and once they get to that, then we could drop Safe Station. We're not going to need it.
Wouldn't need it
There's
because there's a
24/7
statewide
place to
program
go.
that's in place. Exactly.
Exactly. Right in Manchester. So, yeah. So the encampments are still, a work in progress. With Shauna Green, where it's going to come quicker than we thought, which is well worth her pay.
Oh sure.
In her position.
Oh sure. I mean, it's a frontline issue for the city of Manchester.
absolutely.
I mean,
And
the
she
caller
gets it.
made a great point. We want to bring people downtown. Panhandling had become prior to the pandemic very aggressive, and he's hearkening back, I think, to those times when it was pretty aggressive, pretty tough to walk down Elm Street and shop or do business or go to a restaurant.
When they backed, I forget when it was, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when they closed the boat ramp, I wasn't in office then. When they closed the boat ramp, that's when they all started moving downtown and every other place. So you got to be aware when you're moving something because of public health and safety. You got to know where they're going because
What's
they
the
could be going
consequence?
into neighborhoods. There's every time there's a movement, I got to drive around at 3 or 4 locations in Ward 3 where they get on the tracks and stuff, right abutting people's houses, and have them you can't stay there.
Well, I mean, I live in the South End, and we had the beginnings of a small camp down at St. Anthony Park, which is a tiny little park, but it is smack dab in the middle of a family neighborhood. There's no commercial area.
So I mean, we're responsible enough to be addressing the issue. It's not like we're ignoring them and we just want them to go away. I mean, they're not about to move to Chicago. They're here and they're here to stay. So we have programs in the works that are taking care of people, getting them out of the encampment. I mean, the 18 to 25-year-olds are more open to services. The chronic homeless, they're not as open. This is okay. I don't have no bills. I don't worry about my rent. I don't worry about my phone being shut off. I love this. And in the summertime, it's tough to convince people of anything.
Yeah.
It's beautiful out there.
But winter's coming every year.
But the winter's coming, and once again, we have to look for a lease where, this one spot would address that, so
Yeah.
that we're not looking for a lease. We have a winter. This would accommodate winter also.
Yeah.
We have to look at that once we get the state's report and see what they're going to do regionally, so that every area has the same setup as Manchester would.
Excellent. Well, we're at the point for our second break. We're going to take a quick break this time, a little quicker than the last one. We'll come back with the next segment, and during the break, we'll decide what we're going to address in the next segment.
Very good.
Folks, stick around. Be back on the other side. We are back. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. We're in our last segment of a 3-part program talking about local issues here in Manchester with Alderman and State Representative and all-around good guy, Pat Long. We have spent a little bit more time than probably I wanted to on the unhoused, but it is a big issue,
Sure.
and it's right in your wheelhouse,
Sure.
Pat. You've been
Yeah.
working on this issue for years and years
Yeah.
and years, and we had a call on it. So I think it's good that we really dove into it deep. We've got some things on the horizon. We'll keep an eye out for those, and maybe we can do another show in a couple months and see how it's working
Sure,
out.
you got
But now, in the break, you said you wanted to get back to the budget and where we
to the
stand.
budget.
We're
So-
going to have a small tax increase here in Manchester.
1.87. However, there's $2.8 million going to DRA. And if they use that, $2.3 million is 1%. So it'll be 1.25 or more
Yep.
percent cut off to 1.87. If the DRA allows us,
Which for the first
to
time
use-
ever, they did not
use
allow
the
100%.
70 exactly.
Which sounds like dirty pool to me.
And the difference between the options is we wanted to put money in contingency, and like I said, it did drop it to 1.46. And granted, the DRA drops it also. However, we have money in contingency where an alderman says, "Hey, I need a crosswalk," and Public Works says, "Yeah, we don't have the money. That's
don't
30
have a
that's-
crosswalk
that's
available
30
for you."
That's 30 grand I got to put in there. We don't have the money.
Yeah.
We take it from contingency. So contingency is what the citizens want. I need a light here. I need this added sidewalk fixed, or whatever the need is out there. We go to contingency to do that.
Somebody knocked down the
So
stop
that-
sign, and
that
we got to
was-
get that back up.
So that was one of the options, was to build that up to $1 million so we could cover a lot of things that come down a pike during a year that we don't budget for, that we don't know about.
Now, let me ask, is that just a way of taking things out of the capital plan and putting them aside and calling them contingency? I mean, is that a parlor trick?
No, it's not all capital. I mean, a lot of it is like right now the Public Works is negotiating trash pickup.
Which is a big issue, you know.
That
have
might
lawn
cost us
clippings
300 well,
all through the year, my friend. You know?
Well, that money came out of contingency. If we didn't have a contingency,
Good example,
that
yeah.
would not have happened.
Yeah.
That came out of contingency. So, you know, we have those things that get thrown upon us that we didn't plan for because we didn't know was going to happen,
Yeah.
and we need to, you know, we need to adjust it, and we have contingency to do that. So it's citizen driven. So you send, you know, so we ended up with option one, which was the middle of the road. You had the mayor's budget, which she didn't know the revenue coming in. It's unfair for March.
It's the first budget.
Correct.
It's worked out
it's a
without
picture.
good information. We've gone over
Right.
this year upon year. You come in and we talk about
Yeah.
this.
So option one was the middle road. Option two was the contingency feeding.
And the
So-
mayor's budget's supposed to be a fallback anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, what I wanted to bring up is, you know.
Yeah. So how does that compare? How are we doing? How
hear-
are tax and spend Democrat like yourself? I mean, you're killing us
I mean,
here,
that's
aren't
what
you?
I hear. You know, I get beat up for going 1.41% increase. In 21, which was, I believe it was 1.47 was the rate. Maybe I'm wrong. It was probably higher than that. So I said, you know what? I think we do pretty good because I've been hearing some towns that are predominantly Republican-run towns. For example, Hooksett, 100% Republican-run town, 4.5% increase in 21, 4.5%. Okay, Bedford.
That's more than Manchester. I'm just going to point out 4.5 is higher than 1.41.
No, exactly.
Just in case people didn't
Bedford,
know.
5.6%. Republican-controlled town, 5.6% increase in taxes. Auburn was at 2%. However, in 19, it was 10.25% increase in taxes.
Well, that's a whopper. And even at 2%, they'd be higher than Manchester.
Yeah, Londonderry, 3.7% increase. So Manchester, you know, the bottom line is I get $200 a year for my heat in my house. So I only get $200 a year. When heat goes up, I only get $200 a year. You know, I'm not allowed to go up anymore. So what do? I have to lower the heat. Instead of 60, I put it on 55 maybe or whatever. You know, and that's what the city of Manchester done. So you do hear,
And what that
hey,
does-
I'm paying for that service.
I'm going to circle
Yeah,
back
but-
to what we started the show. You start that decline in the city, and it can
No,
start to
no,
slow down the
exactly.
wheel of prosperity that we are so
Exactly.
fortunate to have when you start going like that. Now,
So-
Pat, look, I'm going to play devil's advocate. You know I don't believe what I'm just about to say, but some people would say, well, that's because the Republican tax cap prevents you tax and spend Democrats from going crazy.
Yeah,
What do
no.
you say to that?
No, well, there was a study done. We took the 10 years. At 10 years of when the tax cap has been implemented, we went back prior to the 10 years, and then we added up what the increases were, and then we went 10 years with the tax cap, and the 10 years without a tax cap was less of an increase of taxes than those with a tax cap. Because in essence, what you do is you say, okay, this year 1.87. So everybody looks for the 1.87.
Yeah.
You know, where some years you didn't need the 1.87.
And I happen to remember the Board of Mayor and Aldermen working their budgets during the pre-tax cap years, and there is something called political pressure. And they agonized over a percentage point increase in taxes every single budget. So the idea that without a tax cap, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Manchester was profligate is absolutely ridiculous because they were not. And
So-
your evidence that you just talked about over a 10-year period, going back 20 years, shows absolutely that that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I hear if if elected official never signed a check, they're not a good politician, or municipalities, government should run like businesses.
Oh, that's the
when your business makes an excelling amount of revenue, what do you do with that?
You put it in your pocket. Or you
what else you
reinvest it in your company.
Exactly.
You know? I mean,
So Manchester has
But
a
it's one or the
cap.
other. It's not-
Manchester has, you buy another boat,
Yeah.
or you give out raises, or buy a new machine, or whatever.
depends on the kind of boss you are.
Right. So the city of Manchester, congratulations. We built our revenue in a pandemic. Our revenue was built up. Shouldn't the city be rewarded? Shouldn't we see something that we get for that?
All of us have better roads.
An advancement,
yeah.
exactly. Where that's not the case. Revenue is at a cap. So what they're saying is, you're making a lot of revenue, but send that to the DRA so our taxes can be reduced, which I get that.
Yeah.
However, your taxes still get reduced when you override that revenue and you put that revenue into the budget. It reduces your caps now, and you're not expecting Department of Revenue Administration to tell
That
you what they're going to do
might
with
give
that
you
money.
something, and it also, by the
Exactly.
way, by percentage, also benefits every other town in the state of New Hampshire,
No, that's
because
right.
it all goes
That's
into a
right.
single pot.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
it gets shaved off. A wise alderman, Danny O'Neill, once said, people in Manchester can understand a reasonable increase in taxes if they're getting more services for it. But an increase in taxes without increasing services, that's where the problem lies.
It's if they see it.
And that's-
I
yeah.
talk to, I get support from both sides as an alderman, and I talk to the most staunch conservatives, and tell me where that money's going, and I need to see, like when we added complement to police. Geez, I see police driving by all the time now. Thank you. They see, okay, so that money, that's okay. Charge
Yep.
me that. But I want to see the effects of it.
Well,
and I
what,
get that clearly.
The late great former Mayor Bob Shaw always said, "Put it in roads. People like smooth roads." And
Exactly.
and by the way, I really think, I know that there was an effort to improve the roads, but that didn't get the job done.
Well, it's still ongoing.
I
It's still
understand.
ongoing.
I understand, but the roads that they fixed at the beginning are going to be broken before they finish this
Well,
project.
no, they're on a plan to make every road good. Right now, we got a list of, from poor all the way up.
They just came down to my neighborhood, and yes, there is new pavement, but it pools in the center, and the difference in grade between my street and the street
They'll
it
take care of
intersects
that.
is like
Well,
about 6 inches.
They'll take
It's
care
like
of that.
going over
they
the
will
curb.
take care of it. I call them all the time for that stuff.
I don't have an alderman, so I don't have anyone
Actually,
to call.
there was a well, call the at-larges. There was a in front of Campo. There's a ditch, so in the wintertime, it ices up.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. They
Well, that's good advice.
they fix it.
I thought I got my road
Hey,
repair, and that's what I'm going to get.
Our employees are awesome employees. It amazes me. I mean, we got volunteers like there's no tomorrow, but our employees are above and beyond. You know what I mean? Department
do.
of Public Works works hard. They want neighborhoods to be happy with what they're doing.
Yes, they take a lot
They
of pride in
take
the
a
work
lot
they
of
do.
pride in it,
I
so-
agree with you completely.
So
we
gotta
got a
give
great
them-
group
but
of people
again,
that work
at
for the city
a
of Manchester.
specific number, they're always getting. Costs go up. So, if you're giving them $2 million, let's say it's way more than that, to pick up trash, and 10 years later you're still giving them $2 million, that's a bind. They're going to have to cut the trash down. You know what I
No,
mean?
I do. I do.
I mean, with respect to the clippings, the landscaping, or
We used to,
yard waste.
There was we almost only had once a month pickup of yard waste.
Well, it was doubling. So it's either put the $500,000 in, you got to override the revenue. That's not going to happen. So the answer was, let's go to once a month. All right. People complained. Those that didn't vote to put it in the budget
Yeah.
said, hey, whoa, we need this money. How much do we got in contingency? Well, we have the $57,000 to pick it up right now and the $169 to move it for next year. And we had the money in there. So
But now it's gone. So you
well,
got to
now
you
we
got to
only
replenish
have-
the rain barrel,
Now
right?
we only have 400, a little over 400, and I suspect that's going to go quick. maybe I'm wrong.
Well, we're in interesting times.
exactly.
Any construction that's going to be done is going to cost a heck of a lot more. I mean, that's what I
No,
do,
no,
and
yeah, no, you're right.
materials are going through the roof. Unemployment is very, very, very low, so it's wages are going to be stressed upwards, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, you want to qualify people? Sure.
I like that. That's a good thing, but we have an inflation. I think the Fed said we're looking at 3.5%, which that's a little bit like this for me.
exactly, yeah.
Little inflation is good. Your money, your investments accumulate. But you get to a tipping point where it can be negative. So we got these stresses, and nobody knows how they're going to end up. It's pretty tricky.
My thing is with revenue. We've got to release that. I mean, there is no board that will take all the revenue. It's just not going to happen. We get how that works. However, we want to take care of our citizenry when they want the products. We need to deliver, and that's how we deliver.
Yeah.
And those that didn't
Yeah.
vote for it are going to come to the board as they did in the past and say, "Hey, I need $200,000 for a light here. DPW says that it qualifies for a light." I mean, I vote with the alderman. That's, because I know what it is to be battling a neighborhood that you need a light. However, you didn't approve this contingency. So when that runs
Yeah.
out, we're out of money.
Yeah, but they'll be right there saying, "Aren't you glad I got you your light?"
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we
yeah.
we see it in Congress.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
senators taking credit for public for the stimulus money that they voted against. And then putting out an ad
Well,
saying,
governor.
"Aren't you glad I did it?"
Well, the
you know?
governor, I would vote against this if I was a senator.
Yeah.
Now he's freaking swimming in it. Right? This is awesome.
Yeah.
know?
Well,
They got some of it in the budget. So, come on.
So,
It's not helping.
what's coming down the pike, Pat? Oh, you know what? Well, no. Let's go. Let's look forward. We only got about 2 or 3 minutes left in the show. What's coming down the pike? What's the city of Manchester going to see coming up this summer and fall? That's
We're going to see
a little different, a little better?
major development. Major development.
Real estate development.
Real estate development. More
E-
apartments downtown.
Really?
Yep. There's 250 units being proposed right now.
All these before the planning board right now?
No, they're going to zoning next week.
Mm-hmm.
And the RFPs that we sent out for the Harnett lot and the Pearl Street lot, I remember going to this talk at the Bookery. It was somebody from Connecticut who was a master planner, municipal planner.
Mm-hmm.
And he made it clear that parking lots are a waste of municipals' money and area. It's a waste of area.
I have been reading more and more. Not that I absorb municipal planning, but it's a little bit of an interest of mine, and I've been seeing more and more articles indicating that the trend is away from vehicle downtowns.
Correct.
And
Correct.
at first it was thought maybe that's just a fad kind of thing, but it seems very sustainable. It seems very profitable. And so that
Well, I mean, it's the old, you want people to park somewheres and walk downtown so they see what you have instead of park in front of where they're going.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to XO.
And then get
I
out
want
and
to park
drive
in
by.
front of it
Yeah.
and go into XO, then drive off. Walk 2 or 3 blocks, see what else we got. You might say, geez, I'm going to go into that store when I get done eating. You know what I mean? That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it
Well,
works.
Pat, thank you for coming in. The hour goes
thanks
by
for
fast.
having me. Anytime.
It's really nice to talk with you. You know what you're talking about, folks. I hope that you've been informed and educated by Alderman Long, telling us a little bit about the budget and speaking at length about the problem of unhoused people here in Manchester. And we'll keep an eye out for some good things that are in the offing there. And also, we'll keep an eye out for this big development coming to the city. That's great. That increases the tax base, right? Make the pie bigger, right?
Absolutely.
So, folks, thank you very much for watching the show. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you to our caller for calling in. Folks, you can always call in. We really love our callers, and we'd love it when you do. Tune in next week for another exciting adventure of the Progress Report.
Have a good night, everyone.